All right. So, do you guys want to introduce yourselves and say like where you came from, how'd you find Miami, and we'll go from there.
I'm Hannah Peterangelo, and I am from Dayton, Ohio, and I found Miami because the firm I worked at did a lot of projects at Miami University, and so I traveled here regularly for meetings, and the campus was really beautiful, so I put it on my list, and then I don't know, wound up narrowing things down, and yeah.
I'm Anna Ernst. I'm from Salina, Ohio. I found Miami through a summer scholars program I did in high school. So I actually ended up going here for undergrad as well and decided to continue on through grad school.
I am Anindita Lajpunti. I'm from Bangladesh. I find out Miami University through some of my friends who are studying here right now. And also I find out the scholarships, and they gave us full scholarship, full tuition fees waive. So that's why I chose this one. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Maggie Wolf. I am from north of Dayton, Ohio also. I originally found Miami, I think I was in 3rd grade, when I had this teacher for some class, but she wasn't my regular teacher, who came in and started talking to me about like what I wanted to do. And she said something about Miami being a good school for architecture. And you know what? It's stuck. I visited a lot of schools around Ohio, and they have the other programs have great to offer, but Miami's campus is just, it sold me when I came and visited. Miami has this unique quality. They call it the mile square for a reason. You can see that it's very much filled with trees and lots of green space, open public green space that you can hang out in. And you're never too far away from activity of people being outside, even if it's in the winter, which is surprising me that people still choose to hang outside in the winter. So a little bit, I guess I'll talk more, but this is our lovely building, Alumni Hall. It's located on our academic quad, as we call it, here at Miami. But again, being only a mile square, it is not that much farther from any other part of the campus. It's actually situated pretty much in the center of the hub of activity, aside from dorms being to the south and north of campus. Our student center is just a couple blocks away, or not even blocks, but I would say like a 4 or 5 minute walk. What do you think, Anna?
Not even. It's like 2 buildings away from alumni, so.
And if we don't have the student center to go to, which it's always open except for right now because the university being shut down, unfortunately, there is also another cafe at our the main library of the campus is right across the quad as well. That has a full-fledged cafe for lunch and food like that. Surprising a lot of options on campus food in just a small amount of space. And we got a lot of good restaurants uptown and variety, more variety in recent years, I would like to say, than maybe when I started here I started back in 2014 as an undergrad. But I could never go wrong with a burger and fries. They've got killer options. Right, from Skipper's. So the picture you're looking at now is right inside the front doors of Alumni Hall off of the quad. This is the interior space. It's actually the original library on campus, which was graciously given to us when they built new King Library, the library I was talking about, that's just across the quad. And we kind of inherited this. It's a Carnegie Mellon library, which was a big program back in the early 1900s. And we got to inherit our George Washington statue, which you can see in this picture, as well as the a small library remained in the building. This is called our Architecture and Interior Design Library, Art and Architecture. There's full stacks below, as well as computer services with all the different programs you might need that you may not be able to access on your own personal computer, scanners, you name it. And then we have our personal librarian in-house. She actually, her office is here and very accessible, which is Stephanie. Yes.
She's really nice. She's the coolest librarian, I think, on
She'll drop anything to help you with research, which is so important. All four of us are actually in the middle of writing our first full draft of our paper. It's due in 3 days. So we're all a little like running in circles with editing and all that. And even in this time that this university shut down and the library's actually closed, Stephanie has reached out to our professors, letting us know that she's still available for us to reach out to her sources wise, which is really, really huge. I think it's an opportunity that a lot of universities don't have, that this personal connection you get to have with not only faculty and staff, but the auxiliary staff as well, because the library is not directly, it's for all art students, everything on campus, but yet we get that special connection, which I think is important. Over this summer, we got a fully renovated space for the graduate studio, which is very nice because we went from a very outdated space that was really clunky and cut off. If you guys want to speak about studio space and what you guys think about it.
It is way better than before. Before it was cubicles where you were in a quiet office session where if you needed to talk to somebody, you had to like walk around this maze of desks just to find somebody. And now with the new space, it's a lot easier to collaborate with everybody. And it's really nice when you have questions and when we're all in there just hanging out, like the free open space. It's more set up like the typical office space now, very open floor plan.
Yeah.
Right. I have a picture that's gonna.
Yeah, so this picture here is of kind of like the south edge of it. So we have like a conference area / loungy area, and then and then there's the space for our desk.
Each of us get one of these desks. They're actually a stand-sit desk, which is very nice, especially when you're working long hours and your back starts to hurt from, sitting too long. If you've been to architecture school, you know this pain. Both these pictures, one kind of gives it a wide shot. Both are 500, 600, and 700 students all fit within this space. But anyways, like Anna said, it's very open and it's kind of nice having the brand new desk and you don't have to share it with anyone, and our studio locks off at night, so no one from outside of the department can get into our studio. It's very secure, which is nice because we like to bring in our personal computers, desktop setups, and they're pretty much safe. During the nighttime, there's no worry of vandalism or anything like that, which is nice.
And usually like some of the students will bring in their own like refrigerators and microwaves, and we all share that stuff. And there's a little kitchenette in there for dishes and coffee, and prepared for the long hours that we spend.
So over the summer, you will be given an assignment. This one's kind of fun. They're different depending on the year. We did plates. Or this year, the one that's showing on your screen is a napkin drawing. Over the summer, we were given the assignment without knowing anyone, both the 600 and 700 levels. We do this as kind of a get to know each other, kind of break the ice between the returning students and the new students, where the specific year, we were told that we were to use a plate and our medium of paints and materials for creation had to be made from food. We got a large variety of different, people used pasta, people used chocolate, really creative things.
Sugar, salt,
flour, all of the above. I had to say, though, I don't think I really wanted to eat anyone's plate at the end between the mixture of different spices, but they all, it was a nice way to kind of get back in the swing of like, especially if you took time off between your undergrad and your graduate experience, kind of getting this back in the spring of that type of creativity, because in professional work, you don't always necessarily get that outlet as frequent as you may have had in your undergrad.
It also should be noted that Anandita won.
Yes,
Right.
she did.
It was your support, you know.
So we all vote. We put little pins next to it. I don't know if we'll do this next year, but I'm guessing. And then yeah,
we
Anandita
need to
won.
work for that. Yeah, thank you so much. But I love all of the projects that we did.
there were a lot of really good ones.
Yeah. Something else our department also does is a lecture series for the entire year. We have rotating professors coming in and out. Something new this year is that they're going to start doing workshops in culmination with a couple of the lectures, not all of them, where they're weekend long kind of investigations. This year we had 2 planned, but one only fortunately got to go off the ground before the quarantine happened. But about 12 people, which from graduate level all the way down to first year, were encouraged to participate as students, got together and were put into teams and worked with James Michael Tate, who came to visit our department this year, and we worked to kind of look at one of the original garden cities, Marymount, Ohio, and we built or designed these really form-focused elements derived from existing structures. You can see it in this picture I show here, but it was really fun to get out of the box again in that manner of form making, and with all these opportunities outside of I would say, I don't know if you guys can speak on this, but the opportunities outside of maybe our regular instruction, because we kind of have a guideline for graduate school of markers we have to hit to be approved for NCARB, our licensure kind of group here, or NAP, not NCARB, sorry, right? National Accreditation, right? Architectural Accreditation Board, NAB. Yeah. They have a certain set of stuff as we need to achieve before we graduate.
Yeah.
So the nice thing is that our department really encourages us to even step out of that and try to participate in more things. You know, we have all these different people who have different backgrounds coming into our graduate program that bring different activities we can participate in or learn about, which is really interesting to me, at least. Because I almost think there is more variety in our there is so many more variety of people and backgrounds coming into our graduate studio than necessarily our undergraduate program, which I think is a really big, that was a big plus for me when I was looking to return to Miami, because I know there's some hesitancy to returning to Miami or your previous school for certain reasons, that looking for different experiences, but Miami does a really good job with kind of elevating us as graduate students, really putting a lot of effort into us as individuals, and recognizing at times that we are separate, but we are part of the the rest of the department, which was really nice coming from our undergraduate program and transitioning. I took a year off in between my undergraduate and graduate studies. What about you guys?
Yeah, I took 3.5 years off. So it was kind of just working and then traveling and then working again. But yeah.
I did 2 years, for I worked 2 years in an architectural firm, and then applied for the master's program. So I guess,
and I went straight through. Yeah. So I graduated undergraduate last year, and then I just continued straight on into the master's program.
This is another thing as you transition. some of you have been offered our 500-year program. That's where you may be coming from a different background. And in that year, your grad program, you'll be included into, starting your education of some additional stuff to bring you up to speed to what 600 level students are expected to have in knowledge and skill. That includes you being an active participant in one of the studios of undergraduate work. So this is kind of some of that examples of the works from previous years of what our 500 level graduate students have done, from renderings to whatever, before they transition and join the following year of 600 students that all four of us kind of started at. We were all 600s coming in this August. So the 600 studio, I think it was like a week. Was it a week into studio that we went to Chicago?
Yeah. Something like that.
It was like a week and a half, but yeah.
Yeah. So a week and a half. We had barely got to know each other, and our entire studio got into two very big cars. Anna drove.
I drove too. We have multiple.
Yeah, Hannah drove.
Oh yeah, we have two drivers in this call.
Anna drove the big one, right?
I had the big one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Maggie and Hannah drove the small van.
Yeah.
So we had a normal minivan, and then when they said a big van, it was a 12 passenger, one white traveling vans that we could rent from the university, and we drove 5 hours to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? Yeah, and we parked in a parking garage, and we were there for 4 days. This is one of the pictures we took on the trip from a riverboat tour that we were fortunate to be able to participate at the end of our trip. You can see here's all of us getting to enjoy our ride with the architectural tour, as well as visiting some of the famous landmarks. And while we were there, I mean, if you guys want to speak up of like the experience of Chicago, go ahead. I don't want to talk the whole time.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that we have a professional selfie taker in our studio.
Yes, we do.
I'm really glad that you guys gave me the opportunity.
Yes. Amandita takes the best selfies.
Oh, yep.
Was it the first day that we went down and we met with Drew and Steve, and did we do the site visit that day as well?
Right when we got there, we got in. And we were late because we had to get up at like 4 a.m. Anyway, we don't have to go into all of those. It was great. We got to speak to this developer, Drew, who's in that picture with me.
We're very fortunate. They design, been part of the projects that have done some of the very innovative skyscraper designs in Chicago. And Drew and Steve were part of this project, and we got to learn about a lot of things about the building and how it was innovative structurally, which is really where Steve came in, Steve was part of Getch Partners, right?
And he designed like all over the world.
Yeah, structural design. He did
an architecture, like kind of a technical architect. He works a lot with the structural engineers, I think.
Right.
He knows his stuff though.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for me, I don't know about you guys, the reason we went to Chicago, our project was, a little background is that we were to design a skyscraper for ourselves, which you'll see in the following slides. And for me, it's very hard to even wrap your head around the scale of, we had been assigned 1.5 million square feet of area. Is that right?
1.5.
So for me, this project kind of pushed my limits of understanding with layout design and form of the skyscraper at that scale. I don't know. Talk about your experience of the design process.
I feel like I have a much better. Oh, sorry. Like how big that is now. Like if someone had asked me like, oh, so how much space is that? Like now I know, okay, it's like a square block of stuff with like a tower going up to about 45 stories. So, yeah.
Well, and
But what
actually,
were you doing?
like we focused a lot on understanding how the core of the structures actually worked, and that's where Drew and Steve came in. They came in for like two charrettes, different charrettes. They came to us after we came to them, and they really like sat down and interacted with us and helped us planned out with our designs, like how the core would actually work in like a real life situation. And it wasn't us guessing most of the time. Like we had him there to like guide us along the way, and that was probably super helpful. I mean, that was super helpful. And it actually, we learned a lot in the process. So.
And also I think the visit, the site visit was also helpful.
Yeah.
Because we understand the site very well, so that the what is there, and also what we, if we design something different, what would be the impact for the surrounding area. So do we
Right,
need
the
to keep
neighborhood.
some of this, do we need to keep up the existing stuff, or do we need to like remove that? So all the stuffs, they were really helpful, Steve and Drew. So they gave us some good ideas, good feedbacks, and also our Professor Craig. So yeah, that helps
And
us to understand all the details. Yes.
yeah, and it was like helpful when Drew came in too, because he was able to like let us know like what the most important design aspects were, like corner offices, leasable space versus unused space, like trying to determine those ratios and get the most use out of the space that you have as possible. Just learning the developer side of it as well as the role of the architect was pretty interesting.
Right. Kind of
And
like the economic
Yeah.
impact of
and
decisions.
how much like how much is it is important for them, or for Chicago side, like the space. If we do design for a space, we how much the developer should concern. We got the idea from them, because the some of the spaces we cannot, like, we decided to go for like to design different stuffs, but they gave us the insights about the per square feet area, like how much it is important for them, or for developers to put in or to design. So how much important that space is. So all the stuffs.
What about our other classes? If we want to speak on that, and how that kind of comes into play with our other studios, or I don't know if we want to speak on anything you want to comment on our other classes.
Theory. Theory comes to mind.
Yeah, theory.
Prepare yourself.
For sure.
Get all of Sergio's books in advance would be the number one recommendation I would make.
Utilize the writing center.
Yes.
So
Utilize
I guess
the
a little
writing center.
a little background. I'm sure Craig has given you all by now kind of a list of classes and everything that you're required to take. And one of the classes in the fall year is architecture 634. 634. And as Anna said, or Hannah, Sergio Sanabria is one of our lovely professors. He's one of the historians we have in our program. He knows many, many different topics, and we cover a lot of ground in that class with reading. And that's why, Hannah, you said your comment about the books, getting them ahead of time. We read so many philosophical books and relating them to architecture between all the classes. And then we are to practice. I think that class is really important for practicing our skills for writing. I know it's helped me. I personally have come a long way in writing since I started in August. And that class was a big part of it. And as Anna said, the Writing Center, do you want to talk more about the Writing Center and what it is and what it offers?
Yeah, so at King Library, which is right next to Alumni Hall, there's a writing center. You can work with any range, undergraduates to graduate students, and you can go online and you can choose to make reoccurring appointments, or you can do one-time appointments. And it's super nice because you can sit down with any phase of writing that you're in. Like if you've just written down, if you're trying to get started, if you have drafts that you want somebody to go over with, you can sit down with, like, say, another graduate student, and they'll talk you through it. They'll sit there and they'll make notes with you, and they'll tell you, oh, this sounds too general, this needs rewording. They'll help you with grammar, word choice. It's like very nice to have another person read your paper before you turn it in, so they can catch any, like, maybe mistakes you're missing, or if something sounds a little funny. And it's just another outside opinion to really help you form a good paper before you turn it in.
And also through the Writing Center, I haven't utilized that as much as I should, I think. But the thing I have is they have like writing groups you can sign up for. And so I got paired into a group of originally 5 people, but it's wound up being just 3 of us meet regularly, and they people from like all different majors, but like other grad students, and so they similarly understand heavy workload and stuff, and we actually were still meeting even during the quarantine. We do remote meetings for writing, so that's been really helpful for me. But yeah, whatever works best for you, whether feedback or just like accountability for writing or both.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, talking about writing doesn't stop after fall semester. We actually are just getting started in the fall semester, with finishing with Sergio's class. As we move into our spring semester, which we're all part of right now, is design and research method with one of our professors, Diane Fellows, who walks us through the process of putting together our written thesis, which is a part of what this program kind of offers. One of the unique aspects of this program is that you really get to define your thesis topic yourself. Like, it is all on you to find something you're passionate about, which I think is very significant. Our thesis topics this year, I mean, of our class alone, range in so many different directions. From Marissa, who's in our class, she is focusing on how to handle making, sporting events and sporting venues more accessible to a larger range of audiences. Then mine is related to agriculture and how agriculture and architecture can wind together. What about you guys? What are your thesis topics, if you want to talk about them?
Yeah, so mine is diving into brick and mortar retail versus online retail. Some say that brick and mortar retail is dying because of online retail, so I'm trying to research a new way to incorporate the technology online retail world into a possibly in-person hybrid, to see if the technology in retail spaces can boost and bring brick and mortar back to thriving again.
Mine is also kind of to do with plants and looking at integrating kind of plants and ecology with architecture, specifically in urban settings. So, like, understanding that population growth is a thing and urban expansion is a thing, and how do you recognize and deal with that while also like being kind to the earth.
And my one is like, I'm looking forward to study vernacular architecture and how it impacts on the contemporary era nowadays, and how, like, what should we need to do for reviving or restoring the culture or tradition of vernacular architecture in this time, without changing or without affecting that norms and ethics of vernacular architecture. So I'm finding out all my case studies and all the stuffs for that, but also you need to, like, I am researching on like what is the need for the community right now. So the community, if they need something stable, something long lasting, then how will it affect the vernacular architecture now? So this is my concern. So I'm developing this. So yeah, maybe sometimes, you know, you feel that within this roller coaster of time, we will we will define our topics or our thinking process in different ways, I guess. And this is the part of the, you know, of the journey, I guess. I really enjoy that. And I guess you will also, guys, agree with me, because my thought was also different in at the very beginning of this semester. So it is developing or evolving my thoughts in a different process. So yeah.
So our future kind of looks like this for the rest of the semester. Like I said, our draft is due this week, our first draft, which is a 20-page document. I think that's the longest thing I've written ever in my life. Our final thesis written document will be due at the end of the semester in May. So we still have a little more time to develop it and, you know, edit it and get it more precise. And we fortunately all individually have at least guaranteed 2 people on our committee, maybe 3. Where we have a committee chair. I mean, a committee chair who's dedicated. I mean, committed to us. They may have 2 students that they're working with, but they are dedicated to your work. And it's through this process of where we are given this giant, like 3-foot by 7-foot sheet of brown paper in which we are to start developing kind of visually and graphically with words, kind of our ideas behind our thesis. And we are then to, you know, spend a whole afternoon or day where all the professors in the department who are, you know, willing to participate in becoming a chair or reader come down to kind of talk us through what we're thinking. And we kind of do a matchmaking. Diane helps with the matchmaking to get them into our thesis committees. And we go from there. Yep, it is like speed dating. It's really fun and laid back. There's cookies and drinks and everything. And it's really a time to kind of feel invigorated about our ideas. And you can kind of, I think I really enjoyed the fact that all the professors kind of came, and then there was like this, they were excited, almost as excited, unless it's a topic that didn't interest them, but almost excited when you knew somebody was interested in what you were researching. Instantly you get a connection, and it was really like full energy room, which is nice. And then once we get paired, we continue kind of reaching out to our committee for research advice. And at this point, our readers probably are just more verbal kind of connection. Your chair is really your biggest liaison in this process. And then Diane just kind of helps you along with understanding it. So you can see each individual person in our studio has a huge support system for what we're doing.
Well, and you can even talk to any of the department, honestly. Like, there are 2 professors that aren't even in my committee, but because one of them is my GA professor, and then the other just was helping with our studio, Mary Ben. So like I've wound up talking to them anyway, even though they're not even in my committee about my stuff. So yeah, you can kind of talk to anyone, but then you like have these set people that like definitely are there for you.
Right.
So yeah.
And you do get a say on who is on your committee or not. You're not guaranteed that person, but you do a ranking and send that to Diane of who you'd really like, and she ends up doing the matchmaking and pairing in that way. So
right,
you're not just somebody.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Anna. So after this whole process, our committee still stays together. all summer long, because our thesis, actually, since we start in the spring of our 600 level year, for a year and a half, we are developing our thesis, which then gives you this fantastic opportunity to develop really a strong sense of who you are as a designer, I think. So after you submit your paper, which you can have opportunities to add to later on, but it's really much in that final form of research that you submit to different conferences and different things like that to go and visit. We're highly encouraged to submit our documents for conferences, which then the university has programs in which we can get funding to go to these conferences. So it's not all on us to afford it. But over the summer months, we do take one course to kind of help us find our preferred site. So it's maybe a continuation of development, but it's more about taking what we learned from our paper and kind of implementing that to discover a prime site for our full development of design, which would happen in the 700 year. So after that summer, you can see in these pictures now, there's something called the Symposium for 700, in which for the symposium, we receive a liaison for this final year, who becomes this outside source that would be our main critiquer of our projects through this point, through the end of the summer, through the end of our graduate career. Here we present a presentation of everything we kind of researched, restating our, as well as sites we found over the summer. It's kind of the kickoff for the design project, design phase. You can kind of see here, it's a whole day event, very serious. Everyone gets name placards. People invited from all over the university are invited to come. Undergraduates are encouraged to come. It's just a very special time for the 700s because it's that moment of, if you don't get to go to a conference or anything like that, it's like our in-house variants of conference, I would say, kind of pushing us along and making that transition to the next step. There's a lunch and dinner to it, which we 600s were invited to since we attended the symposium, it was very nice, a catered event. In the picture you see here, this is our atrium. It's the very heart of the architectural building where any presentation usually happens here or the floor below. Undergraduates use this space. We have a big show at the end of the year. This is really important, where it's just a celebration of the entire department that is so much fun. I look forward to that. And then you do your whole 700 year of developing your site and then your design project. And this is really on you to design the scope and scale of which your implementation of your project is going to be. You can see in this picture, somebody was doing a baseball stadium on the Cincinnati River. Again, a wide variety. This is your final kind of, you got to stand your ground and defend your thesis. This is the biggest moment, I think, in the entire graduate process. It's the last thing you do before graduation, which is the energy behind the graduate students. I mean, leading up to it, they're nervous. Everyone's nervous, so nervous. But when they're done, like, you can just see they're changed. I would almost say they're changed immediately following their thesis presentation, which you guys Anna's seen it, and I'm sure you two have seen it at your previous schools from their graduate programs.
Yeah.
It's definitely something interesting to be a part of. Again, lots of people are invited to come and partake in the critique. But that's our 700 year. And I guess the last thing we can hit is some of the fun things, which you've probably been waiting all along to hear, I'm sure. So we haven't been able to partake in these things as much as we wanted. We were planning on putting together a volleyball team. I hadn't told you guys that. And then I hadn't told you guys that. I was talking with Craig about putting together a volleyball team because we were already starting to kind of need that exercise outside of studio. And we look out for each other. We have this huge group chat that, I mean, includes everyone in our studio, and we make sure to reach out. It's been a little difficult with this whole transition to online and everyone being kind of scattered, which I can think we all can admit we're missing each other so much.
We miss each other.
Yeah. I don't think I realized like that I love all of you. Oh, what? No,
well, and we forgot to mention, like, after the Chicago trip, you're like bonded for life. Like,
yeah.
like,
that's true.
You know, you're just thrown together for like a week, and then you're like best friends.
Like, oh well.
You literally spend every moment together, every class, every day, unless you go home, but you're mostly in studios. You're always together.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing.
Yeah. You can see in this picture we have two events that are guaranteed every year, which is our chili cook-off and our bake-off. The bake-off usually happens in the fall, and then the cook-off is in the spring.
Which it happens like 2 weeks before things shut down.
Right.
Thank God.
Before things shut down. It's one of those bonding events between 600 and 700, which even though we're on different, doing different things, it's that time that we all come together, professors come, we all eat, we laugh, we vote on the best chilies for different reasons. And I think it's one of my favorite memories. I'm
a GA for the wood shop, so a lot of the materials and stuff are back there. So when we restock some of the products that, like the wood stuff that everybody buys for their models and things, I have to go back there and refill the shelves. I manage the wood shop, so we sit down there and make sure nobody hurts themselves and that they're using all the machines properly. And if they need help using any of the machines or need advice on building something, that's what I do down there. It's a pretty cool job. You're gonna get dirty, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's one of the more, it's very interactive.
Oh, we do have Kroger's and Walmart in town or near town. So yeah. This is important too. Transportation wise, you do not, because it's so tight knit, you don't need a car. You really don't.
Yeah. Like I didn't get a parking pass. I just planned on, and I have a car, but I just planned on taking the bus or walking. And then if I do want to drive, I can kind of park off of campus just like a couple of blocks, and it's like not that far a walk. It's like 2 or 3 blocks. So
we also have
typically,
right.
what I do, since I live a
little bit further out, so she can't as easily do that.
Yeah. So, but like I do have a parking pass, but you still have to fill it pretty quick. But the nice thing is there's right across from alumni, there's our King Library, there's a bunch of off-campus housing, so all of that parking is free if you can find a spot. So
right. Yeah.
Nice.
And also, as an international student, I would like to say that, don't worry about the transportation system, because the bus here is really good and convenient, and you would find a stop at each, couple of blocks. And I guess it would help you guys. And also, if you guys will work at night, they will provide, the university is providing the safe ride, which is really good if you don't have a car. So you can just call them and they will pick you up from the spot wherever you are. So it's really helpful. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And also our graduate students, our classmates, our friends, they are really helpful. So I really
ask your
appreciate
friends.
all, yeah, they're so supportive. I'm lucky.
Oh.
Did we want to talk about housing options?
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's a good thing to go. I'm going to state off first. There's lots of options in Oxford, and I would look at them all because not all are equal for what you want as an individual for your housing needs. From if you want to live with a roommate, you don't want to live with a roommate. I've lived since I've been in Oxford for a while. I lived south of campus at a place called Chestnut Place, which was renovated a few years ago and is a really nice place. It was a townhome with 3 other roommates. It's has granite countertops and everything like that. For me though, it was perfect for my undergrad because I was still, I don't know, I was in a different headspace than I am as a graduate student. Not to say that place isn't bad to live now. I just chose to move to another place called Oxford West. I live in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment with my fiance actually. And it's perfect. It's got a small kitchen. It's within walking distance of the Kroger. I never drive my car to Kroger anymore. I find myself running over there for eggs. And in this time of quarantine, it's really hard not to just go over there to gawk at people. But so there's also the TJ Maxx here, a Dollar Tree store. Actually, we do have another grocery store on campus or in this area. It's called the Moon Co-op, which is actually an organic grocery store. It's kind of hard to find, but if you're wanting that type of option, we have that. We also have another smaller grocery store, Fridge and Pantry Uptown, which is more on that organic small grocery store side. And then there's
the Asian
they make food too.
Supermarket too, right?
Yeah. Yep. The Asian market too.
Mm-hmm.
So there, like I said, so there's a large variety of like big box stores versus small, but within walking distance to me is the Moon Co-op. I get milk from there. It's very delicious. It's from Northern Ohio, so I know where it's coming from, which I know that's important to some people, but that's kind of why I chose to live in Oxford West. There's also an apartment complex behind me called Oxford Commons. So that's another key element when you look here is like, how close do you want to be to the university? Like, you know, our actual architectural building, or how close do you want to be to food, or how close convenient wise and price? I wouldn't say that just because I said what I said about my apartment, that it's the best option. It definitely isn't for everyone. So you guys can pick it up from talk about your places you live.
Mm-hmm. So I'll piggyback on yours since I'm also at Oxford West this year. They are kind of ramping up the prices, but they put deals on stuff regularly. I will scoop on that is to like try to get them to give you a deal on it probably, because they probably will. But I'm actually not sure yet where I'm going to live next year. I haven't totally decided if to stay in Oxford West or switch places. I do really like that there's like that it's super close to like all food and everything, and then it's like right next to a bus loop that's very convenient for kind of hopping on and going straight into campus. So yeah.
Yeah, my apartment, so I lived in a couple different ones in Oxford since I went here for undergraduate as well. I lived in one called Hawks Landing last year. It's pretty similar to the one I'm living in now. It's a little closer to campus. They have anywhere from 1 to 4 bedroom apartments, and most of them, like they'll have, everybody will get their own bedroom. And what's nice about them is they lease per bedroom. So if you have a roommate, if you don't have a roommate, like you don't have to worry about that factor. And they usually have a lot of amenities, like they have their own gym, they have a print center. The one I'm at now is level 27, and that one's a little far from campus. It's quite a walk if you decide to walk there, but they have their own shuttle. So they have their own bus loop that they run 24/7. They too have a gym and a print center, and it's also leased by room. So if you don't have a roommate right away, or they have 3 to 4 bedroom options. So, and what's nice about them is it's 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom, or 4 bedroom, 4 bathroom. So the only thing you'd be sharing is the common space with your roommates. So if you get stuck with a random person, you have your own space within that, which is what I really liked about it. Probably I like Talks Landing a little better because of it was a little closer to campus and I was able to walk if I wanted to. But both of them are pretty nice. It's very quiet at level 27, so you're not hearing people out at all hours of the night. And it's on your, like if you're commuting, like I commute to Dayton a lot or Cincinnati for work, like in the summer for an internship. So it's a little closer to that route. Cutting down a little bit of driving time, which is why I moved out there. But like Hannah said, a lot of them do like a lot of deals like when you're signing, so watch out for that. When I toured level 27, they wrote in our lease that they would give us free AirPods if we signed. So I got free AirPods with my apartment, but and they do pretty cool things like that. And a lot of them, they include utilities. So the only extra fee I pay out of my pocket, other than the set rent, is water and electric, which is like $20 because I'm splitting it with 4 people. But Wi-Fi, cable, all of that's like included in my apartment, where I know as like some of the other ones, they don't have those options. So I don't know, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, Oxford West is similar. It's like, I think everything but electric is included. Is that right? Or is it electric and water? I think everything but electric. And yeah, I got really lucky with my roommate and go off of that. Like I didn't know her beforehand, but they had a pretty detailed questionnaire of like what our living habits were essentially. And she and I are like very similar in a lot of ways, but she's like a biology PhD, which is pretty cool. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that is nice because I think ours had that too. So
yeah.
There is, you get put into a group for graduate students, kind of an email stream throughout the beginning of, but even before school starts, and you'll see that there are other graduate students who reach out for roommates. That's a great opportunity to kind of make sure that you're getting an environment for your, as a graduate student, we're not like undergrads who may have different priorities in life than we necessarily do as graduate students. I know somebody in our studio did take up that offer, and they are living with, I think, 2 or 3 other.
2 maybe, yeah, it's 2.
Yeah, for example, I am living with, sorry.
No, you can speak on this more.
Yeah, I am living with one of the 700s in our class, and she's also my friend. So that's why it's a good chance to contact with them if they are if they have the availability to pick a roommate or so. So I guess you should reach out on that. Basically, I also live beside the Oxford Commons, which is South Elm Street. So it's pretty far, I guess, from our department, but I don't mind to walk, And but the bus station is really near from my house. So, and I would suggest that if you can also reach out to one of our graduate students like 700 or yeah.
So, again, I'm going to reach out and say, I'm sorry we couldn't do this in person. I know we would have all loved to meet you guys, whoever was planning on coming to visit us, maybe when this whole quarantine thing is over, before, school starts. If you find yourself in the area, I think any of us would be willing to, meet up with you and kind of give you the actual tour of the building. Again, I can praise this place to the nines, honestly. The building, the people, the place, it's just a great place to live.
Welcome to Miami.
Yes, welcome to Miami. It's fun. We're nice. We can't wait to meet you.
The campus is really nice. That's true.